So, like Mark said, this part of the tutorial is all about KVM. So, when going virtual, when should you use our KVM at TAC site, which is where we have VMs. So, if you didn't get a chance to, you can join our tutorial project, which will let you follow along with any demo. Or, of course, if you have an existing Chameleon project, you could use that. But if anyone needs this, just ask, and it's tinyurl.com/chameleon tutorial. Okay. What is KVM at TAC? We have these other sites that have been getting all the attention: Chi@UC, Chi@TAC, and Chi@NCAR. So these are bare metal sites. And that means when you provision a server there, you're getting kind of your own exclusive hardware that it's running on. There's nothing else on that node, just your instance. But KVM at TAC has VM instances instead. So the server you provision runs on a hypervisor that's on that hardware instead. And there's probably other people using that same hardware, so the same CPU and RAM. So if you're working on an experiment, you probably should ask yourself, do I need bare metal? So if you're doing things like benchmarking, where you're running something and you want the same result every time, and you don't want someone else using the CPU to impact your experiment, you probably should use bare metal. If you want to do things like measure the power, that's another case where you should use bare metal, so you can get that info from the CPU or other devices, and you don't want other people impacting your power measurement. Also, sometimes there are specific hardware configurations where you need bare metal, like Intel SGX is kind of common. Or if you are interested in like storage devices, you may also want to, you'll want to know the specific storage, and our KVM instances have virtual disks. So those are instances you would want, actual hardware. So bare metal is kind of like you have the hardware, on your desk in your lab or something. That's the level of access we're trying to give you. So when could you use VMs, or when do you need VMs? Well, I wouldn't say VMs are ever strictly, I don't know if it's common that they're strictly required, but they do offer a lot more conveniences over bare metal. So I think people yesterday were saying they're much faster. I think Freda said, like, did she say 30 times faster, or some? To get started. Yeah. So launching a VM is much faster, though the I/O performance is probably not as good. But there's also other conveniences like VMs. You can have persistent volumes that store your data in between leases. You can take a snapshot from outside your instance. You can use things like security groups to manage the firewall for a wide cluster of VMs all at once. So if you don't need bare metal and you just need some compute, a VM might be appropriate. So here are a bunch of features I'll kind of do a comparison of. So you can find all these on VMs, and I'll talk about how to use them and how they compare to bare metal. So the first of these is flavor. So Mark mentioned that there's this bare metal flavor, but the flavor on KVM is more like the node type. So it's kind of the shape of what your instance is going to be. So compute Skylake or GPU H100 on bare metal, that tells you what your instance is going to look like. Flavors on KVM are kind of like that. So we have 3 types of flavors. So the first group here are these, compute VMs. Their general purpose is maybe a better way to say it. So they all start with M1 dot. And these don't really have any special features. And so you can reserve them for up to 6 months. which is going to be to the end of your project's allocation on Chameleon. Now, in the last year, we got PCI pass-through GPU flavors. So these are the following two flavors here, G1.H100, PCI-1, and PCI-4. So this is a large VM flavor, and you get a PCI pass-through to one of the H100 GPUs on that hardware. So you're not sharing a GPU here, but you are sharing the CPU and memory with other users potentially. If you have the PCI-4, so the hardware that these run on have 4 H100s. So if you do reserve the PCI-4 flavor, you're getting, you're going to be the only VM on that hardware, but it's still via the hypervisor. We do have H100s on bare metal now. And then brand new, so in the last month, we have this multi-instance GPU flavor, which abbreviates to MIG. And the flavor for this is G1.H100 vGPU 1G 12G. So it's a real mouthful. But this is a much smaller VM flavor, so you're not getting, a quarter of the node. You're getting 1/28th, I believe, of the node. And that means there's more availability for this flavor, but you get a much less powerful VM. And here we're taking, instead of you getting PCI pass-through to the GPU, you're now also sharing that GPU with 7 other, with 7 instances total. And for this to work, there's a special image that you have to use as well. But this is how vGPUs work on a commercial cloud. You may see those as a resource.
Just, I know it's a big mouthful, but the 1G 12GB is part of NVIDIA's nomenclature for that 1/7 slice.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 12 gigs of VRAM that you're getting out of it.
And 1 vGPU here, or 1 GPU slice.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Okay. So I can do a quick demonstration. I'm on the KVM site right now, but to show it off, if you go to our site and then experiment, click on KVM at TAC. Like Mark showed off earlier, you'll want to start off with going to reservations and leases. And when you go to create a lease, so I'll say this is my demo. Here we have all of our flavors as with their descriptions here. So we have, these are the 2 PCI pass-through flavors. The M1 dots are all those general purpose flavors, and there's this MIG flavor here. All right. So then the next few items here, I have leases, instances, and security groups. So we already saw how these work on bare metal, so I'll kind of go through it. But first thing you have to do is make a lease when you want to launch a VM. So I'll go back to this tab, and just to repeat, there's the create lease button. I can type in my name. I'll say this is my demo lease. I'll go to flavors, and I'll reserve just a medium VM, which has 2 vCPUs, 4 gigabytes of memory here. And I'll click next. I don't need any networking reservation. And it'll work through that. It's creating a slot on me, a slot for me on one of those hypervisors. And in a few seconds, it should pop up with a green message.
Excuse me?
Yes?
Do we have a choice on what type of CPU it will be running on, this VM?
Not for our VMs. They all of the general purpose VMs are running on the same Haswell node CPU. That's right.
Except for the GPUs, those are on the Sapphire Rapids.
So we do have this information on, if you go to Chameleon and go to docs, which is under learn, and then at KVM, there's a hardware page that talks about what those hypervisors are made of. All right. And then the next item here that I have is launching the instance. So my lease is active now that we've waited a few seconds. I can go to the instances page, launch instance. I'll say this is Mark's demo instance. And you can see there's many more options than there were on bare metal. And part of that is because bare metal has, or KVM has more conveniences than bare metal. So I'll show off some of those in a second. The second item here that I need to fill in is the source. So I'm going to search for, let's do Ubuntu 24 and find that. And I see this is one of our Chameleon instances or images. And then if you go down to flavor, now there's only one flavor right now, since I'm the only one who's made a lease on KVM under this project. But so it automatically selected my reservation flavor here. And I see this is from my Mark demo lease, and it has those 2 vCPUs and 4 gigabytes of RAM. I can go down to network. So on KVM right now, we just have shared net set up. Here are network ports, which I don't need to do anything with right now. Now security groups, I'll talk about in a second, but unlike bare metal, we have this firewall that sits in front of all of our VMs. So if you want to have any traffic to your VM, you need to permit that with a security group. So you have to do this as well on a commercial cloud. So by default, we don't have these set up, but we've used this project before. So there is, last time we did this, we created this SSH security group, and we see it just allows ingress on port 22, which is SSH. So let me click the arrow to permit SSH. For key pair, I have this, I know this key pair works, so I'll pick that. And then here on KVM, you have a few more options. So I could add a script to run to maybe install some package. I could group my servers together, not too useful necessarily. Scheduler hints as well, you probably, and metadata, you probably don't need to do anything with. But I can click launch.
I would say one of the interesting things you can do with server groups is you can either force your VMs to be on the same node or disparate nodes, but I actually don't think that's compatible with the reservation system at all.
It's not right now, yeah. But so if that's of interest, let us know and we'll think about it. But yeah, we don't have affinity for the leases right now.
I realized that as soon as I
Yeah.
was halfway through that sentence.
It probably, before reservations, it was more useful.
Yeah.
So as we can see, here's Mark's demo instance, and it's already running. If I click on it, it looks very similar to a bare metal. And here I can actually go to the console, and there's a bit of an improved console compared to bare metal. So I can type like ls mem, and I see I have 4 gigabytes of memory here, which is what I expect. And if I go to network here, let me look at floating IPs. I'll allocate one to the project. I can associate that with Mark's demo instance. It doesn't like the smart quote. So let me take that IP, have a terminal here, and I can SSH CC at that IP. Let's see, I copied the space. And trust on first use, and there we go. So I can do lsmem again, lscpu, see what it says here. So I think it's about what I expect. Yeah, here it says I have a Haswell node. 4 gigabytes of memory, and then two CPU cores. So let's try like HTOP. There we go. So this VM could be, you now have a VM to use for whatever you need. I can go to security groups here. So this allow SSH security group exists in this project, but if you had your own project, it wouldn't. So I can just show how to create one. So I'll say allow SSH, and this is my demo version. You click create, and then I'm now managing that security group that I just created. I'll add a rule, and if I pick the rule type here, so I can either just pick TCP or UDP and give it the port number, but SSH is very common, so it's already filled out here as an option, or HTTPS, for example. But I could do a custom TCP rule, or 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you just need to click add to set that up. Or for SSH, it would be 22. I can leave the slider here as all zeros, which is just saying traffic from any IP, and it works. And then if I go back to my instance, there is a way to manage security groups. So under this action menu, edit security groups, and I could allow SSH, my demo group there. All right. Any questions about any of this so far? I think this is probably, if you want to launch a VM, all of the things so far, I think you're going to have to go through. One more thing I didn't mention about leases is we actually have an availability calendar like we do for bare metal. Now, I want to say this is estimating resources rather than the calendar, the bare metal one, which is the truth. It's a little more complicated with VMs to estimate resources. So, right now, if you wanted to launch our smallest VM size, you could launch 2,000 of them, probably. So something else might run out of resources. Or, extra large, 300 above. But if you're really interested in our H100 VMs, you'll probably want to look at this calendar. So it looks like they're being used for the next couple weeks by people. But on the 25th, you can make a H100 VM. Though if I go to PCI 1, so if I just want one of the GPUs pass through, I could get one sooner. Okay. So another thing that I mentioned is a bit more convenient on KVM attack is snapshotting. So with bare metal, we have this tool called CC Snapshot, and we wrote this script, and it tries to capture all of the state of your instance. Let me fix that typo. And it puts it into a bootable image, but the problem is that that runs inside your OS. And I think technically we probably have it here. So if I run CC Snapshot as root, it'll capture all of my stuff that's running on this VM. I haven't done anything interesting, so it's not really worth making a snapshot of right now. But on KVM, we have this more consistent out-of-band snapshot that the hypervisor uses. So from the web dashboard here, if I go back to my instance, there's an action, and it's the first one that it shows me, create a snapshot. So I'll say this is Mark's demo. And this runs pretty much instantly, I believe. Maybe you know Cody, but I think it does a snapshot on write or something.
Yeah, it may not be instant.
So I think
yeah,
I have to go to images, and if I look for that demo, yeah, it says it's already active. So I could now take this snapshot and launch another instance, provided I had a reservation for another VM.
When we say snapshot, what do we mean by that?
So it's a copy of my instance, essentially.
It's basically the disk state of your instance. It's not like
Yes.
copying the
It's not.
RAM or anything like that. It's just the disk.
So say if you could set up your VM here, install and configure the operating system and your software as you want, then create a snapshot, and the next time you want to use this VM, you just launch with the snapshot image.
Okay. So it's not that the application state or anything is stored in it. It's just
Mhm.
what sort of applications and software has been installed.
Correct.
Yes, just stuff on the disk. So if on our H100 nodes, you configure a specific version of CUDA and all of your other machine learning software, you might want to create a snapshot so that you don't have to set that up again.
Similar to Docker images.
Yes, I suppose you could think about it like that. Like it's the operating system image here, so there's a bit more going on. It's not as pruned as Docker. Okay. And now the last topic is volumes. On bare metal, we have this thing called the manila file share, and we have the object storage there. So you can technically, we have documentation on adding these to your bare metal instance so that you can use it as a file system. So KVM, we don't have these, though you could authenticate to the external object store that's co-located at TAP. But KVM has this volume feature that's very convenient for when you need to store data persistently. So how this works is we have this big pool of storage it's running on Ceph, and when you launch your instance here, you actually are given part of this as your root device here. So right, I have this VDA drive here. This is actually using one of these volumes. But I can also add a second volume here. So there's a volumes tab, and I go to volumes. So I'll say this is Mark's data. And I can say no source from this. I'll put it on our SSD storage, which is faster than HDD, though I believe.
I need to take that out. It shouldn't work.
Okay, so use SSD.
Yeah.
I can say I want, let's just do 2 gigabytes for fun, and I'll create that volume, and it pops up. I can manage the attachments and attach it to my instance. So this is provisioning it now. It says it's in use. And if I look at my VM's disks, I see there's now this new VDB disk that showed up. That's 2 gigabytes, which is the size I have. So if I go to my instance as well, it'll tell me this information about disks. So there's a volume, yeah. Mark data is on dev VDB. So there's a lot of things you can actually do with these snapshots. If I need more than 2 gigabytes in the future, I can extend the volume. I can also make a snapshot of the volume. So if you want to make a copy of your data or whatever, and I don't know, give it to multiple VMs now. You could also use volumes as a boot source for your image. So I can copy like Ubuntu 24 into a volume and then use that as the root disk in the future. You could also use a volume to mount an instance snapshot and manipulate the instance there. So there's a ton of stuff you can do with volumes. They're very fun to work with. And I think that's pretty much it for all the things we can do with KVM. Are there any questions or any thoughts on what I'm missing? Yeah.
If you had some software that was just like pretty beefy, and so like when you install it, it just takes up a lot of space, what would be your recommendation for that use case? Like, would you want to store that in a volume, or would it be okay to have it as your snapshot?
I would say have it as a volume. I like to think of volumes as like a big USB drive. Like you could just unplug it from an instance, move it to another instance if you
And
need
it's
to.
always available, very modular.
Yeah, it's all
Yes,
on the
you
same
don't have to-
backend storage, so there's no disadvantage.
You don't have to worry about it being deleted when your lease ends as well. But yeah, as Cody said, it's the same storage as, you know, my VDA and VDB. They're the same backend pool of storage, so there's no disadvantage to using volume. Yeah, do you have a question? Okay. Is there anything else that I am forgetting? I don't think so. Maybe I can say that we're hoping to bring VMs to our other sites so that you can use bare metal and VMs on the same site. So stay tuned for that in the next few months. Okay. Thanks everyone. That's it.
So we're gonna have a break from now till 10:30, and then at 10:30, Mike Sherman will be giving a tutorial on Chia Edge. So this is actually, even if have used Chameleon like extensively, this could be really interesting because there's a lot of new stuff that we've been doing with Chia Edge. And speaking of outdated documentation, that is a whole nother level. So yeah, there's a lot of probably interesting things there. And also, if you just want to learn more about the edge aspects of the platform, it's great. And then after Mike, there'll be a short presentation from Paul Marshall on digital artifacts. So he'll go into more about Trovy and how you can find artifacts there, upload them, share your own.